The first warning came as a vibration in my hand. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a quiet buzz, like my phone knew it was about to ruin my wedding day. I was standing in front of a mirror wrapped in white satin, while the makeup artist adjusted my veil for the third time. Outside I could hear waves crashing against the rocks below the lodge. California sunlight poured in through the windows, soft and golden, like the universe was trying its best to convince me this day was perfect. Then I looked down at my phone. One new message. From my mom. Don't expect anyone. That was it. No emoji. No explanation. No I'm sorry. Just 4 words that hit harder than a slap. For a second I laughed. Actually laughed. Because who sends that to their daughter minutes before she walks down the aisle? My name is Lauren Parker. I was 29 years old about to get married and I told myself she's being dramatic. My mom had a talent for that. I convinced myself this was just another guilt tactic, another power move. I told myself that when the music started, when the doors opened, they'd all be there. My mom, my dad, my brother, my aunts, cousins, my family. I took a deep breath and handed my phone to the bridesmaid. Ready? Someone asked. I nodded. The music started. The doors opened. And my stomach dropped straight through the floor. The right side of the aisle was full. Smiling faces. Guests leaning forward. Phones raised. The left side, the side reserved for my family, was nothing but empty chairs and scattered rose petals. No mom. No dad. No brother. No one. I felt it then. That slow, burning ache in my chest. The kind that doesn't scream, just quietly eats you alive. Every step toward the altar felt heavier than the last, like I was dragging the weight of an entire childhood behind me. I didn't stop walking. I focused on Danny, the man waiting for me at the end of the aisle. His eyes softened the moment he saw me, like he already knew something was wrong but loved me anyway. Don't cry, I told myself. Don't give them the satisfaction. We said our vows. We smiled for the photographer. We cut the cake. From the outside it looked like a perfect wedding. Inside I was breaking. Later that night, after the guests left and the music faded, I sat barefoot on the edge of the hotel bed. My heels were kicked into a corner. My dress was wrinkled. My makeup had smudged under my eyes no matter how hard I tried to fix it. That's when I checked my phone again. And that's when I saw it. An Instagram post. From my cousin. A group photo, taken on a private beach in Hawaii. Palm trees. Matching linen outfits. Cocktails raised in the air. My mom stood right in the center, smiling like she hadn't just skipped her daughter's wedding. Caption read. Family forever. I stared at that screen until my eyes burned. So this was the reason. Not an emergency. Not an accident. A vacation. I typed 2 words and sent them to my mom. Perfect timing. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone. I went very, very quiet. Danny sat beside me, still in his shirt and tie, his jacket hanging off a chair. Lauren, are you okay? He asked softly. Do you want to call her? Instead I showed him the photo. The smile on my mother's face. Caption. The wife. The same woman who had spent my entire engagement calling Danny, not our level, had chosen cocktails on a beach over watching me say I do. That was the moment something inside me shifted. You see, my mother liked to say she built everything from nothing. That Parker and Company was her kingdom. What she never mentioned was that I was the one holding the keys. And as I sat there in my wedding dress, phone glowing in my hand, I realized something terrifying and powerful. If I could keep them afloat all these years, I could also let them sink. Danny watched me open my laptop. What are you doing? He asked. I looked up at him, my voice calm, steady. Working. And that's where this story really begins. Danny didn't ask again. He just watched me the way you watch someone when you know they've crossed an invisible line, and there's no pulling them back. I sat on the edge of that hotel bed, wedding dress still on, laptop balanced on my knees. The glow of the screen felt colder than the room itself. My hands moved on muscle memory alone, fingers flying across keys I'd touched thousands of times before. This wasn't new territory for me. This was my territory. Parker and Company's main banking portal loaded in seconds. Username. Password. 2-factor code. Approved. Every account appeared on the screen like an open map of my family's life. Corporate cards, travel cards, personal cards disguised as business expenses. The so-called Parker Family Growth Fund, The one my mother bragged about at dinner parties like it was proof of her brilliance. My name sat quietly on every authorization line. Sounds powerful, right? In reality, it meant I was the one cleaning up messes no one else wanted to admit existed. Danny leaned closer. Lauren, you don't have to do anything tonight. I swallowed. I know, I said. That's the problem. I've always done something. I thought about the nights I stayed up fixing payroll mistakes because my dad forgot to send it. The weekends I logged in from vacations to move money around so my brother Jason wouldn't bounce another check. The years I told myself this is just what family does. I clicked the first switch. Corporate card, suspended. The ones they were using in Maui, for the resort, the spa, the cocktails with umbrellas, grayed out on the screen. Danny exhaled slowly. Next. Authorized users, removed. My mother hated passwords. She'd insisted years ago that it was easier if I just handled it. Easier for her. Riskier for me. I removed her access. Then my father's. Then Jason's. The screen refreshed, calm and silent, like it didn't understand the earthquake it had just triggered. I moved to the growth fund. The money Jason was already counting on for his flashy Austin restaurant. The one he'd been telling people about like it was already a success story. Status on hold. Pending review. Danny let out a nervous laugh. So, this is what it looks like when the CFO gets mad? I didn't smile. This is what it looks like, I said quietly, when I stopped fixing things. I sent one email, to the bank manager who'd watched me drag my parents out of financial disasters more times than I could count. Initiating a full review of all shared accounts. No new charges or withdrawals approved without my direct consent. Short. Professional. Final. Then I closed the laptop. The room felt suddenly very still. We ate leftover wedding cake straight from the box, sitting cross-legged on the bed like kids who didn't know what tomorrow would look like. I cried then, not loud, not dramatic. Just tears slipping down while Danny held me. I wasn't crying just about the wedding. I was crying for every time my mother said Danny wasn't our level. For every time my father told me to be reasonable and think about the business instead of my life. For every apology I swallowed so things would stay peaceful. Sometime after midnight my phone lit up. A group chat. Parker fam. I didn't open it right away. I already knew. Finally I looked. Anyone else's card not going through? The hotel says the payment didn't process. What's going on with the business account? 3 messages. 3 minutes. I turned the phone face down. For the first time in years I went to sleep without solving their problem. When I woke up, sunlight streamed through the hotel curtains. For a brief moment I forgot everything. Then my phone buzzed again. Missed calls. Voicemails. More messages piling up like dominoes falling. Danny stirred beside me. Still okay? I nodded slowly. I think so, I said. I think this is what okay starts to feel like. 3 days later Seattle greeted us with gray skies and misty rain, the kind that hangs in the air heavy and patient. I was in our tiny apartment kitchen, pouring coffee into my favorite chipped mug when the pounding started. Not knocking. Pounding. So hard the door frame shook. I didn't jump. I knew exactly who it was. Lauren, my mother's voice sliced through the hallway. Open this door right now. Danny was still half asleep in the bedroom. I took one slow sip of coffee, set the mug down carefully and walked to the door. When I opened it, Victoria Parker practically fell inside. She still had her Hawaii tan. Still wore linen and oversized gold earrings. But her face was red, twisted with fury. What did you do? She hissed. What did you do to the accounts? She didn't say hello. Didn't ask about the wedding. Just the money. And in that moment, standing there in my quiet apartment, I felt something settle deep in my chest. This wasn't revenge. This was justice finally clocking in for work. My mother didn't wait for an invitation. She marched straight into the living room like she still owned the place. Like this apartment, this city, this version of my life was just another extension of her world. What did you do? She demanded again, pacing like a caged animal. The corporate card was declined in Maui. Declined. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? I closed the door behind her gently. Good morning to you too, I said. He spun around. Don't play cute with me, Lauren. The resort manager had the nerve to look at me like I was. She lowered her voice like it was a curse. Normal. I watched her rant, listing every inconvenience like it was a crime scene report. First-class tickets she couldn't charge. A spa appointment that bounced. A waiter who hesitated before bringing the bill. Not once did she say wedding. Not once did she say sorry. Finally I spoke. You chose a beach over my wedding. My voice came out flat. Almost calm. She scoffed. Oh, don't be dramatic. It was one day. We told you that date wasn't great for us. You booked Hawaii after I sent the save the dates, I said. You just didn't think I'd ever call you on it. She waved a dismissive hand. We had a family trip planned. You insisted on that ridiculous lodge. Are you really going to burn everything down over a small event? I laughed. A sharp, humorless sound. My wedding is not a small event. Her eyes narrowed. After everything your father and I built, you think you can just shut off the money because your feelings are hurt? I didn't shut it off, I said. I paused it. She stepped closer, finger stabbing the air. You fix it today. Call the bank. Turn everything back on. And stop embarrassing us. That's when she glanced toward the hallway. And while you're at it, she added, lips curling, you should really rethink this situation. I felt my chest tighten. He is not good for our name, Lauren. He's not our level. Behind me I heard footsteps. Danny came out of the bedroom barefoot, wearing an old t-shirt, hair messy, eyes alert. Cooked, real. Thought. More decent than everyone in that Maui photo combined. He opened his mouth to speak. I lifted my hand. No, I said. I've got this. I turned back to her. First of all, I said slowly, Danny is my husband. You didn't show up, but the wedding still happened. Her jaw twitched. Second, I didn't embarrass you. You embarrassed yourself when you chose a photo op over your daughter. And third, I took a step closer. I'm not turning anything back on. Her mouth fell open. You don't have a choice, she snapped. This is our company. And I'm the one whose name is on every signature the bank actually cares about, I replied. She went pale. You handed me that power years ago, I continued, because you didn't want to read contracts. You just assumed I'd protect you forever, no matter how you treated me. Her voice rose. You wouldn't even have that job without us. You owe us loyalty. Loyalty goes both ways, I said. I met her eyes. You skipped my wedding to drink piña coladas on a private beach and post family forever. That was the day you cashed out my loyalty. For a split second, just one, I saw it. Fear. Real, naked panic flickered across her face. Then it hardened into rage. You're insane, she hissed. Fix the accounts, Lauren, or I swear you'll regret this. My heart pounded, but my voice didn't shake. I walked to the door and opened it. You already made sure I regretted a lot of things, I said. Just not this. She stared at me like I was a stranger. You chose the beach over me, I finished. Now you can choose how to pay for it. She stormed out, heels echoing down the stairwell, shouting over her shoulder, you'll crawl back when this blows up in your face. I closed the door gently, locked it. Then I leaned my forehead against the wood and breathed for the first time in years. Danny wrapped his arms around me. Are you okay? No, I whispered. But I'm done pretending this is normal. I went back to the kitchen table, picked up my coffee, opened my laptop again. The temporary freezes I'd put in place over the wedding weekend, they were just the beginning. Because if my family thought the pain started with declined cards in Hawaii, they had no idea what was coming next. I didn't have to wait long. By mid-morning my phone was buzzing like a fire alarm. Emails, texts, calls, alerts, notifications. It was chaos, but the kind of chaos I had been quietly engineering for years. First Jason, 807 Hicks. Hey, did you touch the Parker Family Growth Fund? The bank says it's under review. 5 minutes later. Lauren, seriously, I have meetings. I already told the landlord in Austin I'm signing the lease. Can you fix this? I smiled faintly. Not my problem anymore. Then came the loan officer's email. Polite, clinical, deadly precise. Due to the sudden change in collateral status, final approval is paused. Translation: no more free money, Jason. I could almost hear his tantrum echoing through cyberspace. By lunchtime, Aunt Monica called. Lauren, honey, something's wrong with the system. I was at Nordstrom and my card was declined in front of everyone. Can you just fix it? I have things I need to buy this week. I pictured her, standing in designer heels, clutching an armful of clothes she didn't even need, red-faced and flustered. I let the silence stretch. Then I said calmly, "The cards are under review. I can't just flip them back on." Her voice pitched higher. "Your mother said you're overreacting because she missed your little ceremony." Little ceremony. I laughed, low and sharp. It wasn't a little ceremony, Aunt Monica. It was my wedding. And she chose cocktails over me. By late afternoon, the emails from Houston office chimed in. Warehouse landlord asking why the automatic payment bounced. Utility company threatening to disconnect the Florida vacation house. Vendors suddenly asking for upfront payment. I had spent years catching these problems before they ever reached my parents' inboxes. Now I let them pile up. A digital avalanche. Finally my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. "Lauren Parker?" a familiar voice said. "Martin Cole. One of the few adults in my life who had ever seen the truth of my family. Your mother is tearing her hair out," he said, chuckling softly. "She says you've gone rogue." I almost laughed. "I'm just doing my job," I replied. There was a pause. Then his voice softened. "Lauren, they leaned too hard on you for years. They didn't respect you. Now they're feeling it. Off the record, some folks noticed you've been less involved lately. Lighthouse Living, the company I advise, wants to acquire shares of Parker & Company. They'd pay for the stake and keep the CFO brain attached. Even if you don't stay full-time." I let that sink in. This was a chance. A real chance. To walk away. To keep what I'd built for myself. Not just for the company. For me. "I'd sell my stake?" I asked slowly. "Yes," Martin said. "Clean exit. They get a roadmap. You get freedom. And they get a wake-up call. Freedom. I could almost taste it. That night I told Danny everything. "If you do this," he said gently, "there's no going back. They'll say you betrayed them." I thought about the empty chairs at my wedding. The caption on that Maui photo. My mother telling me my ceremony was small. "Danny, not our level." "They already did," I said quietly. "I'm just catching up." And just like that, the foundation of my life shifted. Because for the first time in years, I was choosing me. The next week felt surreal. With Martin's help and a lawyer who answered to me, not my parents, I negotiated the sale of my shares in Parker & Company. Every contract. Every clause. Every number I had once double-checked for my father I now circled for my protection. Danny watched as I scribbled notes, highlighted sections, and emailed documents with a calm precision I hadn't allowed myself in years. "This is it," he said quietly. "Once you send that, there's no going back." "I know," I replied. Because it wasn't just money on the line. It was respect. It was my life. When the deal closed, a chunk of Parker & Co.'s wealth shifted under my name alone. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate with champagne. I simply felt light. Meanwhile, the fallout hit the Parkers like a storm they hadn't prepared for. Jason's restaurant? Frozen. No funds. No credit. No bailout. Aunt Monica's shopping sprees? Halted. Card after card declined. She sounded helpless when she called, voice shaking like she'd been pulled from her comfort zone into chaos. My mother's Hawaii tan? Couldn't save her from humiliation at the dealership when she realized my name had been removed from her luxury SUV loan. I watched from my little kitchen table as their world, the one they thought was untouchable, crumbled quietly. Emails. Phone calls. Frantic texts. Every single person they had leaned on for years suddenly had a wall in place. Me. And for the first time I didn't fix anything. For the first time I just watched. 2 weeks later, Lighthouse Living offered me a short-term consulting contract. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't Parker & Co., but it was mine. No family politics. No favors. No invisible chains. I implemented systems they had once begged me to build, watched sales improve, and realized something. My parents' empire had never been theirs. It had always been mine to manage. And now, for the first time, it didn't belong to them at all. One Sunday night, curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on an old company Zoom link just to watch. There they were, my parents, Jason, Aunt Monica. Faces red, voices high, blaming each other for every problem they had ever ignored. Not one of them said sorry. Not one said we hurt Lauren. And in that silence, in their chaos, I finally felt free. No shouting. No confrontation. Just justice. I leaned back in my chair. Danny wrapped an arm around my shoulders. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside, I finally exhaled. For the first time, the family I needed was the one I had chosen. The wedding I thought they ruined? Irrelevant. The money I thought they controlled? Irrelevant. The only thing that mattered? I showed up for myself. And that, more than anything, was worth everything.